Hello friends and welcome to Art and Maker class. Today we will be making tube monsters. To make our tube monster we will need either a paper towel tube or a toilet paper tube. We'll also need some colored paper. If you don't have any colored paper, you can use some white paper. And we can use our crayons and markers or colored pencils to color in the white paper. We'll also need some tape or a glue stick, some markers, and some crayons. And the last thing we'll need, some scissors. All right, let's get started. All right, friends, let's make our tube monsters. So, if you have a long paper towel tube, we're going to cut that in half with our scissors. We'll just go right down the middle. And cut that right in half so you now have two tubes. You could make two monsters. You can also use the toilet paper roll. All right. Okay, so here's the toilet paper roll that we'll start with. Now the first thing we need to do is to make the outer sleeve, the paper that is covering the tube. And we want to use a different paper than the tube so that we can color it, or we can use our colored construction paper. Now, if you don't have any white paper or colored construction paper, you can go ahead and draw your tube monster right on the tube using markers and adding color with crayons or colored pencils. All right, but we're going to make the outer sleeve for our tube monster. Now the first thing we need to do here is I'm going to measure the tube. So I'm going to put the tube at the top of my paper and I'm going to make a little mark at the bottom of my paper, just like that. Now we'll just cut all the way across. And put our tube right on the edge of the paper. Now, if you don't have colored paper, you can do the same thing with a white piece of paper. You put the tube at the top, you make a little mark, and then you can draw that mark all the way across. And follow that line with your scissors. And we have the paper that will be the outer sleeve or the face for our tube monster. These pieces are the same size. Now with the white paper, you can use crayons and markers, and you can start adding color right to the white paper. And you probably want to do this before you glue or tape it to the paper towel roll, because it'll be much trickier to color the paper when it's on the tube, because it'll be kind of floppy and soft. It'll be hard to, you can still do it. It'll just won't be as easy. It's a lot easier if you can color this white paper on the table on a hard surface. So I'm going to put that aside. Now we're going to attach the paper, the colored paper, to our tube. you can use some glue and glue the back edge here of your paper. I'm gonna use some tape. I'm just gonna take a couple of pieces of tape here, and I'm just gonna put it right on my paper towel tube. And I'm going to put a piece of tape at the top and one at the bottom. Okay, and maybe I'll also put one in the middle too. All right, now I can start rolling my tube until I have covered the tube. You can go all the way around, but I'd like to save some of this paper for another project. And I don't need to use it all. So I'm just gonna make a little mark right over here. And this shows me that I can completely cover my tube with the paper. And we're just gonna cut that. Well, maybe I'll draw it all the way down. And let's cut that line. So here's my extra paper. I can use this for another project. Now I'm going to overlap my paper and do the same thing. I'm going to tape it right to the paper to keep it nice and secure. Okay, so maybe 2 or 3 pieces of tape will work nicely. All right, so our tube is covered with our paper. Now this is you would do the same thing if you had white paper. You would tape it, you would roll it, cut it, and then tape it. So you do the same thing. Now we can start adding some details for our monster. Now, these are your monsters, so you can add whatever details you want. Here's some examples of the ones that I made. One of them has 1 eye, this one has 2 eyes, and this one has 3 eyes. And what we did was, we're cutting shapes out of white paper for the eyes. The mouth on this one I drew directly onto the paper, and I colored it in with a marker, and the same thing with this one. I just used a black marker and I drew the mouth. This monster, I cut out a small shape and I glued it right underneath the eye. So we'll cut out a couple of eyes with some white paper. You can also use tracers to make your eyes. An example is, I could use one of these extra tubes. This would be a really big eye, but I could put the tube down to make my circle. And your monster eyes do not have to be circles. So you can use different objects in your house as tracers for your tube monsters. So there's a big eye that I made from the paper tube. You could glue or tape that one on just like that. Oh, maybe I'll do that. Kind of reminds me of a minion eye. And you can glue or tape it on. I'm just going to put a piece of tape right on the back and then tape my eye right onto the paper. And use a marker, colored pencil, Sharpie, or a crayon. And you can start adding some details. Here is the pupil for the monster's eye. Now we can add a circle underneath, or an oval, or some other shape, or maybe even a rectangle. Take one of these extra eyes and make a rectangle for the mouth. I mean, you could even take one of these little scraps here and glue or tape that right onto the bottom. That'd be fun. I'm gonna go with the square mouth on this monster. Just gonna use my marker and draw a line right across for the monster teeth. And then some lines down. And then I'll tape that right to the bottom of right in the bottom of the eye. That's kind of freaky looking, huh? Now you can add more details if you'd like. You can draw details to your monster. I mean, if your monster is wearing a shirt, or maybe I'll give this monster a tie. Cut out some paper. We'll add some hair for this monster. Just cutting out some little triangles to make some zigzag hair. You can put that right on top. You could put it inside. I don't even think I need tape if I put it inside. There we go. Maybe I will, I'll make some really silly hair. Cut out a long rectangle, and I'm gonna add a whole bunch of little slits coming down. Not all the way. I don't want to cut this paper in half. I'm gonna stop right at the bottom. Make some silly hair. You can make a whole bunch of monsters. Line them all up. Maybe I'll bend some of these. Right? This is a messy hairdo. And then we'll put this right on the inside. And then I can change this monster's hair out every once in a while. Let's see. There we go. Tuck it down a little bit. Short hair, long hair. Short hair, long hair. All right, friends, thank you for following along on how to make a tube monster today. Have a great day.